G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. We are here once again on Forts. It is happening a lot. Players seem to be getting it. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of enjoying it. These games don't seem to be too bad. So let's get into it. We've got a top of the table clash. The Byzantines, the Ottomans. Let's introduce our players. Spawning in on the south side of the map in the color teal, playing as the Byzantines, we've got just another Wham Smurf, aka Crackety here. And in the north corner of the map, in the color orange, playing as the Ottomans, we've got KJJ. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're enjoying these fort games, go ahead and leave a like on the video. If you're not, still, please go ahead, leave a like on the video. It really helps out with the traction of the content. And of course, if I don't ask you, you won't do it. So let's get to it. So we've got ourselves two civilizations. So I was thinking of doing a tier list, you know. I'll be honest, there's a part of me that's a little bit, what's the word? If I did a tier list, I don't even know who it would be for, right? Like, am I doing it for the Gold League players? I don't know. It's tough. But these are two civilizations that have both done really well with the most recent patch. So naturally, you expect people to gravitate towards the civs that have gotten buffs rather than that have gotten nerfs. So expect to see more Chinese, expect to see more Ottomans, expect to see more Byzantines. Because these civilizations are civilizations that have got big changes in the most recent patch. Most notably for the Ottomans, they've got a huge change to their early game. So they now have a landmark that is actually viable for them. That's not just the Twin Minaret Madrasa, that is the Sultanate trade network. And that's really nice to have because it guarantees that you're going to have a good steady stream of gold. And essentially you can go for fast castles just using that landmark and never actually touching gold. If you lose gold, you never really have to worry because there's just going to be gold coming in. It works out to be about, I think, 360 gold a minute, something around that. And it's probably not that high, is it? It's probably like, what, 240 gold a minute? Surely not. I've seen some ridiculous numbers on that. I swear I saw like 360 gold a minute on somebody's, on their Sultanate trade network. But anyway, that's what it's called, right? The Sultanate trade network? Yeah, okay, cool. So that's the first thing. And of course, you might have been sleeping under a rug or a rock. You might have been sleeping under a rock as well. Depends whatever your preference is for sleeping under. For me, I'm more of a sleeping under a rug kind of guy. And if you were asleep, you may have missed the changes about Siege. Essentially, they've made Springwoods weaker. Springwoods and Culverin. Well, they're weaker in their very first shot. But as the fight goes on, they have a higher DPS throughout the fight. It basically just means you've got a little bit more forgiveness when it comes to enemy Springwoods attacking your Mangonels. It takes an extra shot to kill Mangonels. And let's not even talk about Great Bombards. You want to know how many shots it takes to kill a Great Bombard with Springwoods? 10. 10 shots. 10 shots to kill a Great Bombard with Springwoods. So in this situation, Crackety, he's going to have an uphill battle because he's playing the Byzantines. He doesn't have access to the Culverin, only has access to the Springwood, and it means that if he gets out onto the battlefield and there's lots of Great Bombards, that the Bombards are going to be very effective at dealing with the Springwoods, but the Springwoods not so much with the Bombards. So I'm curious to see how he looks to play it in the event that it does go late game. But speaking of late game, this landmark right here got a little buff, but it was not for the late game, it was for the early game. So now the Grand Winery also gives you those mill upgrades that you just absolutely love. You know, the horticulture, survival techniques, wheelbarrow. You can now get them from the Grand Winery, which is lovely because before, back in the day, you used to have to throw down a mill on this side, Grand Winery on that side, and it just felt really, really bad. But now, all of a sudden, you're able to just go straight into these upgrades. So expect to see wheelbarrow picked up immediately here for Crackety here. It's going to be tough for me to say his name is Crackety here because it's just so tempting to say Wham. But I can tell you right now it's not. We've got confirmation. It is indeed Crackety here. And of course, their other buff was that the cistern is actually quite strong. So the level 1 cistern is now 10% instead of 5%. Level 2 is now 14% instead of 10%. So it's just a nice little buff that you've gotten in the early game. It means that you don't have to go for that second level of cistern until you've aged up, which is a really nice thing because it means that you can prioritize getting up very quickly to the feudal age. But we start to see the build up on that north side of the map. The military school just going to be rallying out a couple of units over towards this gold vein, not looking to put on any pressure. And there is a good reason why that is the case here. And that is because all of the resources are underneath the town center. This is forts, baby. And with forts, this is actually a mistake. 25 gold. Is it a mistake? Ooh, it could be a mistake. I don't know if this is a mistake. All right, we'll have to wait and see. So I think the traders do 24 gold a minute. It doesn't take a minute to get out here. Surely it doesn't. We can time it. In fact, we can actually work that out because the great thing about the values for trade are that the values for trade are always dependent on the distance that you are from the trade post. And so we can always get those numbers in. So let's actually time this, all right? We're going to call this little guy. This guy's going to be Steve, as all good traders are known to be. This guy's going to be Steve. And we're going to find out at what point does it actually work. So Steve is going to cash in at 5 minutes and 36 seconds. So if Steve cashes in before 6 minutes and 36 seconds, then it is a good idea for him to be doing this. And if it's after 6:36, then it's a bad idea. But I've got a feeling it's probably going to be before. These guys seem to be making some pretty good movements, but have a look at this. Crankety here being very, very cheeky. I think KJJ might have to change his mind about whether, oh gosh, that trader could be in trouble. That trader is going to be in trouble because you're going to have to come back as well, trader. Just remember that. He's trying to block the trader, not really finding a lot of luck with it. It's going to go down the boar. Scratch that one up. That is for the boar. That is on the leaderboard right there. Leader boar. You get it? You get it? You guys get it? Anyway, it's coming in pretty close here, and it looks like it will be more effective. Okay, so basically, if you can trade uninterrupted without being harassed by a boar, then definitely you want to be... Oh, he just gets it in. Have a look at that. It's very, very close, though. Honestly, I would just be saying, okay, if you put your... So, what am I saying here? Basically, your traders bring in 24 gold a minute if they're just sitting in here idle, nice and safe, right? You don't even have to think about them, okay? And if you send them out to here and they're making 24 gold a minute doing the trade, or if it says 24 gold for the trade, they're making the exact same amount. So it's only when it actually gets higher than that, so here we saw it was 25 and it was slightly faster, that they're actually making more than doing that. Because the way that trade works, it's not exponential, but the longer your trade route is, the more effective your trade route becomes. So if you've got a shorter trade route, it's actually just more effective to keep your traders inside the Sultan Honey trade network. If it's anything more than 24, so if it's 26, 28, something like that, represented on the UI when you click your trader as it's going towards the trade post, then definitely you can look to try and keep it out there. But to be honest, I wouldn't be tempted to do it unless I was getting like 40 to 50 gold, because then it's actually going to be quite a substantial bit more. Anyway, we'll check in on how these players are doing. Crackety here has got plenty of resources in the bank. Have a look at the amount of olive oil he's got. He's not even spending it on trading out or anything like that, which is a common strategy we see players do. What's he going to opt for? It looks like it's going to be longbows. So moving into longbows here. Looks like the scout has come out. Nice little wall. Outpost up in front just to protect the gold vein. Probably going to be going for a castle age into... Does he look to go into the cistern? I feel like he probably could go into the cistern right here. I don't think that he will, because he's a smart guy. But he could potentially do it here. What do you do? If you go cistern, you go longbow Varangian guard. I feel like is the play. Not going to be the case for him, though. Golden Horn Tower in the back of the base. Expect to see a cistern thrown down here, just so it's going to have that influence as well. Really important that your Golden Horn Tower has that influence of the cistern nearby. Really, really important. The difference between it is significant, right? Like you're talking about the, say, 12 villages worth of resources versus, say, 6 villages worth of resources. So it's quite a significant amount. But KJJ now starting to build that villager lead. We can see that he's up to 39 against 32. So not doing too bad at all. Obviously did lose that one trader to the boar, but he's managing to rebuild. You know, it's that classic case of we will rebuild. Barracks here on the backside as well. And expect to see that cistern thrown down. He's probably going to have to throw it down here. A bit of an awkward spot, but... I mean, that's probably about the best that you can get. And I like the fact that he's going and really being quite conscious of his space in the base, because this is something that happens on this map. You don't really have a lot of space, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see plenty of olive groves coming up in the back of the base here, just because it's one of the few places that you can put these groves down and feel good about yourself, because you know that you're going to be able to put down, 8 around a single mill and not have to worry. And there's that cistern going down, looking to provide that bonus. Should be getting it down pretty quickly, and the first of the longbows are out to defend. So Castle Age comes through at 9 minutes 30 for Crackety. On the other side of the map, the Castle Age will be coming in for KJJ. right on time as well. We'll be opting for a second military school, has got the MIA coming down now, and the blacksmith in the influence. And of course, he's up to 10 traders now. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see him cancel this last trader, just because it's a little bit of a hassle having to worry about that guy, especially when there are boars out on this map. Now, one of the things I do like about this map a lot is there's a single trading post. I like that a lot. Basically, it says if you've got map control, you can trade. If you don't have map control, you can't. Which is great for civilizations like the Mongols. We have seen civilizations like the Mongols do quite well on this map before, because naturally you want to try and box your opponent in, but neither player looking to really play the boxing style. Instead, just going to be boxing themselves in, I guess. But still not completely boxed in, though. Keep that in mind. Relic's now going to start getting picked up. We're going to be looking at that Castle Age phase of the Grand Winery landmark. Of course, it can train monks. That's what I like about this landmark, is it does hit you in every single age, every single stage of the game. So what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is that early on, you're going to get a bonus to the amount of olive oil you get from your berries. That's the first thing. The second thing is that once you reach Castle Age, you can look to pick up those relics and put them back safely inside the Grand Winery. And in Imperial Age, it's the gift that keeps on giving, because that Grand Winery will have plenty of olive groves around it and will be supplying you with olive oil in the late game. So that's essentially it. But now, the age up has come through from KJJ. Wheelbarrow is coming in. He's thrown down the third military school. Expect to see a fourth one thrown down shortly as well. Might have to get rid of these trees to be able to slot it in. He could actually put it down on this side if he's got space. But now those longbows pushing up, able to one-shot out the spears. No mangonel here just yet, which is going to be a little bit painful, as he's lost a whole bunch of spearmen early on in this game when you really don't want to be throwing them away, especially if you are thinking about going for an Imperial Age, which you almost certainly are, right? Like, it's just the way the civilization works. It is just one of those things where the later the game gets for the Ottoman player, the better it gets. I shouldn't say the later that it gets, but you know, the closer it gets towards Imperial, the better it gets. They seem to spike in the same way that the Holy Roman Empire spikes, that the Order of the Dragon spikes, in that you have got yourself a very nice bonus in Imperial Age, that being your bonus to your military schools and your MIA. But fortifications now come through on that outpost. No chance of this getting knocked out by a battering ram. Players are just looking to really play this quite defensively, and perhaps that's the direction that we start to see this map go. You know, when I was reading through some of the comments on the last video that we did on forts, and people were referring to the AoE 2 version of forts, and I don't know if it's forts, but I remember that there's a map in AoE 2 where you've basically got walls. Like, you literally start with walls, and they haven't done that here. But it's very similar in a way, in that you've got this natural defense that's very easy for you to wall up, and so it's going to encourage you for this style of play. I'm trying to think of what it was called. I remember playing AoE 2 with Lidocor, and I think we played that map specifically. There was actually an AoE 4 port for that map, but Arena, that was the map, Arena. Oh gosh, it was on the tip of my tongue, and I finally got it out. Looks like we've got ourselves quite a bit of cistern aqueduct network going on right now. But yeah, Arena. That was a good fun map, and what you find is in AoE 2, there's actually players who only play Arena, and I kind of like that, right? Like, can you imagine you just going up against another guy who's gold rated, and it's like, yeah, but he's gold rated and he only plays Arena, whereas like you barely play Arena, and this guy just comes in fast Imperials and just shits all over you with great bombards, and it's like, man, I don't know. It says he's gold, but I feel like he's diamond. It's that exact same thing that happens when you do main maps. But speaking of aging up to Imperial Age, there it is at the 14-minute mark, or just a little bit before. So definitely a bit late. I'm curious to see how you could optimize it. Yeah, have a look at this. See, this is what I don't understand. It generates 24 gold per minute. Okay. How are you getting 336 gold a minute with 10 traders? It just doesn't make... Is it bugged? Like, look at this. I mean, it's got to be bugged. There's no way that that's right. Surely, 336 gold a minute? Is it just stacking up like the amounts that it's getting or something, or the way that it deposits it? I'm not sure exactly what's happening here, but it says 336 gold a minute. I mean, actually, KJJ's over this side, isn't he? 426. I mean, how many vills do we have here? We had, like, what was that? 6 vills? So 6 vills would be about 240. Yeah, this has got to be bugged. There's no way that that's correct. That we might actually need to go and test that, but yeah, it's not getting that much. I think it's 240 gold a minute. But Ottomans now Imperial Age. Expect to start seeing elite upgrades on the way through. Not a whole bunch of gold in the bank just yet. And we've had a very passive game yet. I'm curious, have you guys been playing forts? And if so, are your games looking like this? Another thing that I found interesting is that forts seem to... they seem to change depending on where you spawn. So you can get different maps that spawn differently. So here we've got a cross spawn. Whereas the previous 2 games that we've casted on this map, we had an adjacent spawn where we had one player in this corner and another player in this corner, and it was, you know, very, very difficult because they were right next to each other. Here we've got a bit more space, and so naturally players are just kind of chilling out a little bit more. We do see that Crackety is starting to take control of the map, though. That's one thing to note. He's got outposts that are starting to come up. He's looking to fortify them. Expect to see mangonel emplacements as well. Keep that in mind. And speaking of mangonels and siege, have a look at this. The Springald is out on the map, looking to do some damage here early on. Knows that he's up against the Ottomans, then naturally it is going to be mangonels that are going to be coming out, followed by the Great Bombard. Let's have a look and see. There it is. She's in queue already. I feel like we need to give a name to the Great Bombard. You know, Randy has been around for a long time. The Reboldiquin. Randy the Reboldiquin. And I guess he gets a name because, you know, we don't see him that often. So when we do get to see him, it's great. But the Great Bombard, you know, we kind of see him every day. So maybe we just go by Mr. Bombard, you know, like Great Bombard. It's just, that's just him. We see him every other Tuesday. So, you know, it's not a big deal when we don't see him. Anyway, in fact, it is kind of a big deal when we don't see him. All right, well, at this stage of the game, economies are pretty even. The only real difference is this Sultanate trade network. Keep in mind that our Ottoman players got a number of things that are working for him, including those military schools. A little bit of push towards the front. Varangian Guard together with the Longbowmen looking to tee off. Keep in mind, we do have elite upgrades that have arrived for those men-at-arms. Mangonel shots could be big. He will fall a little bit short as the longbows... Oh my god, the longbows get absolutely destroyed. Keep in mind, no healing circle. It did get taken out. Mango shot by a Springald on the back. Expect to see a villager or two brought over. Look at the attack speed. He's not going to realize in time. No, he will. He pulls it back, and KJJ does very good to bring that back. Second round of shots comes through. Men-at-arms getting eaten alive on the front, still being repaired. Why is the repair taking so long? It looked like it was a little bit bugged there. Now able to repair up that second one. Imperial Age going to start coming through from Crackety. But look at the Mangonel. The Mangonel just doesn't care. He's just moving up to the Springald. He's like, I don't care about you, Springald. He's got so many villagers here that are just idling out. He's trying to repair them, and the longbows are going to be able to take them out now instead. And now the longbows are in a bit of a problem, or a bit of a tough spot here, because they've got to make a decision. Do I go forward to the Mangonels and die to the men-at-arms, or do I go back away from the Mangonels and die from the Mangonels? He's just going to commit to the base, though. Inside the fort right now, the Mangonels. What is that Mangonel shot? Friendly fire. We got blue on greens, baby. Oh gosh, it is a bad situation now for KJJ. He's lost a lot of villagers, but just remember, he's playing the Ottomans and he's survived the hardest part, which is that push that comes right at that timing before the first Great Bombard. Once the first Great Bombard is out, you're okay, because this Great Bombard, it can deal with Springalds, it can deal with units, it can deal with absolutely everything. That's what makes this unit absolutely busted. But now we've got KJJ beginning to make his way across the map with villagers, and you know what that means. It means we check the stone and we see what's about to happen. It is going to be a keep drop. Now, how close does this keep get towards the enemy base? We've got 1 landmark, 2 landmarks, 3 landmarks. Where's that 4th landmark? It's towards the western corner of this base, or western side of this base. We do see behind the scenes there are plenty. He's picked up all 5 relics, by the way, which is very, very nice. But it's just going to be a keep in the center of the map, not going to be going too far forward, and just looking to secure up some gold, which definitely makes sense. But to be honest, when you've got the tempo of the Great Bombard, I feel like it's a little bit of a waste to not go for that bombard or that keep on the front line. Like, you could do a lot of damage. You throw a keep down here, your bombard has now got an entitlement to kill everything in this area. That is for certain. Then you can, like, there's a nice little area out here that you're going to be able to take down as well. Like, you're in a really good spot. I feel like you probably didn't need to go this defensive with this keep, especially considering you just eliminated your opponent's entire army. So, yeah, interesting decision-making from KJJ. I will remind you guys, KJJ is a very good player. At first, I thought this was Kiljadi. It's not actually Kiljadi. This is a player from Taiwan. And as you guys will know, Taiwan is very, very good when it comes to video games. So KJJ currently ranked about rank 35, compared to Crackety here, who's currently sitting at rank 23. So it just gives you a bit of an idea that these guys are very similarly matched when it comes to their skill. That first sacred site that was captured is now going to be neutralized. Keep in mind, he does have a second one over towards the east side. And that central one, I guess it's technically not really central. It's central relative to the other sacred sites, but not in regard to the map. Okay, maybe you can make an argument for it. Now, one of the things to note about this map is I feel like you have a really strong defender's advantage when you're talking about Springles. How good is this little position right here? Get some Springles up to here, roller shutter triggers in. You've just got complete control over both of these entrances. You've got a nice little avenue that you can come in from. I'd love to see this wood line eaten away, and then just a nice little box thrown in here with some walls and some gates, just so that you can't get pushed in. It'd be really, really nice to see, but it's a slow and steady push from this stage. KJJ with a significant military advantage building here. Have a look at this siege. He's got 21 siege population, 35 unit population. That's a big difference between these two. Crackety is going to have a tough time holding on, especially considering Crackety doesn't have any siege to his name at this point in the game. Mangonel in placement, almost certainly through, indeed it is. And Randy is out on the field. Was this a free boy? I'm not sure if it was free. We'll have to double check and see. The Siege Workshop should be through because he wants to look for greased axles, a really important upgrade. Keep in mind, he's also going to be wanting to go into Siege Crews here. Hasn't picked it up just yet, but Randy's going to be guaranteeing that if any Varangian Guard try and roll onto the backside here and take out these great bombards the good old-fashioned way, that they're not going to be able to do it. So I think this is a really smart investment into a nice defensive Randy. So really well played already coming through from KJJ, and now it looks like he will be forcing villagers off these gold veins, looking to come out and flex his military might. Mangonel comes through. We hear those Mangonel emplacement shots, and the Great Bombard is going to make very quick work of that emplacement outpost. Now, there are still plenty of villagers out on this map. You'd love to see cavalry out here to try and deal with it, but the reality is, as an Ottoman player, you just want to commit 100% of your resources to this push that is imminently knocking on your opponent's doorstep. And I think that's the big part of why I think this keep probably could have just gone, you know, right down here very happily. But I guess we've got God Vision, right? And God Vision always gives us that advantage where it's like, ha, he made the wrong mistake. The wrong mistake, as opposed to the right mistake, Drongo. He made the wrong decision. And, you know, essentially that's what happens. But have a look at this. 37 Varangian Guard. Varangian Guard have been upgraded to elite. Now, keep in mind, Varangian Guard don't actually get bonuses from the Palatine School. I take that back. They actually do. I didn't realize that they do. That's kind of big. That's actually pretty massive. And he's making a lot of Varangian Guard. So the more Varangian Guard, the merrier. I didn't realize it was Varangian Guard. I thought it was Lametanai, Harusaphons, Cataphracts, and the other one? Not Varangian Guard. Well, is it the Dramon? The unique dock. Where is it? The Dramon. Yeah, the Dramon. I don't know why I thought they get like bonus Dramons from a landmark. But there you go. That's the Drongo specialty, right? Once you got 2 kids, you know, anything's on the table. Realistically, like that's pretty much it. At this stage of my life, you know, it's 1 + 1 = 3 every day of my week. Anyway, the numbers have built up pretty substantially here. I like how this game, to me, it's a bit of a standoff. A little bit less intense than what they can be, but I still think this is still a quality game that we're witnessing here, because it is, to me, it feels like chess in that it's a slow push up here. You had Crackety take the map, but behind this, he's going mass Varangian Guard. Now, Varangian Guard, did they actually receive any buffs? Wait, increase armor near allied wonders? What? That is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever even realized. Hey, okay, be honest. How many of you knew that the elite Varangian Guard get increased armor near allied wonder? They get increased armor of they increase the armor of transports. Dude, that is ludicrous. All right, let's do it. Cinematic mode time, baby. It's time to get into action. Where are these bombards? Excuse me, you can't be pushing up without these bombards. You need these bombards here. On the backside, the longbows getting a little bit antsy. Varangian Guard numbers starting to look scary, dude. I'm curious whether he looks to put the pedal to the metal with these Varangian Guard or not. Sprinkled numbers are looking good. Now, keep in mind, as long as roller shutter triggers is through, which it is, he will have the range advantage over the bombards, but the bombards will need to be taken care of very, very quickly. There are no Janissaries on the field either, which means that without the Janissaries forward, you're not going to be able to repair those bombards, which means that this fight, as long as the micro is good from Crackety, should go in his favor. But the bombard numbers are looking pretty good. avoid coming down to this bottom side. We want to go to the top side, away from these buildings, because your units are going to be focused on taking out the buildings, and we want to avoid that. We want to avoid that completely. Mangonel placement is there as well there. He's going to be helping out. What's the military difference between these two? 185 versus 200. We've got, oh god, Crackety really came back when it came to the military numbers, didn't he? I guess a lot of this is Varangian Guard, but has that just been because of the Palatine School? It could just be the case. And now, facing off, the Springolds look to try and hit those bombards. We'll be able to find it, and you can see they're having a little bit of trouble falling asleep at the wheels. The first of the bombards will go down. He's got to get him out of there. The greased axles helping out those Springolds. Mangonel shots. Is he just looking to take out landmarks? I'd almost be tempted to say it's a little bit of a mistake to just be focusing on buildings the way that he is. He really wants to try and take the fight to his opponent now. Bombard comes in. Aqueduct network is broken. And now those Springolds still doing a really good job. And this is the point that I was talking about right here, where the Great Bombards could face a little bit of a hassle here. Depends how line of sight works for him, but I suspect Crackety's got decent line of sight here. Springolds moving in. The Great Bombards have taken their shot towards the top side. Varangian Guards looking to come around. He's dove all the units into the mass, and now Springolds firing off. Do take out the Mangonel. Great Bombards need to make sure that they're focused on those Springolds. Will look to try and chase them back. Nice little bit of micro comes in. Men-at-Arms have to fall back away from this position. You can see Crackety's now able to deal with those reinforcements. Randy, you can see how fast he is. He's almost a little bit annoyed at having to go around that outside. And Varangian Guards just get onto the back. Randy, nowhere to deal, nowhere to go. This is just a terrible fight from KJJ. Really bad decision-making from him, fighting this angle like this. Out in the open is where he needed to be. And now he's going to lose another bombard. That's 2. That's 3. All of these bombards taken out. And KJJ going to have to head back to the drawing board, because this was a terrible fight from him. Crackety tore him apart from every single angle. The Varangian Guards just really doing a wonderful job of flanking. And it feels like Crackety hasn't even lost a single unit. Let's take a look and see what this military count is currently sitting at. Crackety here is indeed 100 plus military compared to his opponent. That was one of the worst fights I've ever seen for a Conqueror 3 player. I'm going to be honest, like, KJJ is obviously a very good player to get to where he is on the scoreboard. But at the end of the day, there is no excuse. That was a terrible fight. That was an absolutely terrible fight right there. Gosh, I can't believe that. Sapahi now going to be coming out. Varangian Guard numbers starting to look good. And now what might be considered to be one of the best units in the late game, the Great Bombard, faces a true nemesis here. The Varangian Guard getting that extra movement speed, and that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. The game is called, with Crackety here able to overwhelm his opponent with that last final push. I mean, it all just came down to that one fight, and it was just a terrible fight for KJJ. You hate to see it. Go check him out. I'll leave a link in the description of where you can watch Crackety live, and I'll see you guys in the next one.